to Fish Nerds Podcast. It's the latest about fish, fishing, and eating fish. I'm Dave Kellum.
And I'm Clay Groves. Together we talk about fishy stuff that's happened to us, people we know, and other fish nerds we've seen. Anything is fair game, and it's a good bet Dave will pass out from exhaustion tonight due to his marathon Dace hunt.
We will see. We will see. We have steaming heaps of stuff to talk about.
In case you don't know, steaming heap is a metric measurement. So, we can't tell you what standard sounds like on the internet.
So, bum-ba-da-ba, Clay passed the test.
Go me!
Go him. Dave's big day out. I just came off of a 7 hours of fishing. And let me see, 7 hours, 11 hours total. So
good day.
It's a big day. We also have Stump the Fish Nerds. And we have Scott has a question that he's going to ask, and Nick, is going to answer.
Good. And we have other questions, too, that we're calling. So.
Yeah, so we got lots
going on.
And then there's, of course, Fish in the News. And This Week in Fish Nerd Nation, along with some interesting news about our podcast.
Exciting.
And we're now multimedia. So, lots and lots of stuff to talk about.
We're going to be in heavy rotation.
But the boating test.
I can't tell you. First of all, if you didn't listen to last week's podcast, that's fine. In a very quick recap of last week's podcast, 2 weeks ago now, I took the New Hampshire commercial boating exam. Now, in order to get paid to take people on a fishing boat fishing, you have to have a commercial boater's license, which incidentally there's no class for. Like, to drive a boat, you need to take a class and get a boating license. But for a commercial, to do it for money, you don't need to take a class, just take a test.
Just take a test,
right,
okay.
Because I guess they figure you're insured. So
foolish.
So I took the test 2 weeks ago. I went in there super confident and bombed out on it. Did not pass.
Yes, it was. I enjoyed it greatly.
You're not alone. My wife, she was relentless about it. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I essentially this past week spent the entire week, mostly the night before the test, memorizing the entire book.
Oh, right.
And, I made flashcards and took the practice exams online and just memorized the entire book. And then on Friday morning, I took the test, and I win. I was the first one.
Yay!
First of all, I was the first one done the test, which I'm always very proud of.
Yes.
And I only got 5 wrong. So you're allowed to get like 17 wrong or something. So
nuts.
Yeah, and I still suspect the 5 I got wrong were not my fault, but were the test's fault.
Yeah, of course. Now, were you still the oldest dude in the class?
No, that class was full of like all kinds of people because it wasn't done at a summer camp. It was at the headquarters of the Marine Patrol in Guilford, New Hampshire, and it was very funny because I was parking, and I got yelled at by 3 different people while parking my truck to move my truck because in Guilford, New Hampshire, is right on Lake Winnipesaukee. The parking area where the Marine Patrol is for the island people.
Island?
There's an island right off of Marine Patrol there. It's about maybe a quarter mile off of the beach there. And the only way to get to people's houses is through having a boat. So it's the island people. And the island people have these reserved parking spots around there. And
as if the island people don't have it nice.
I know, but I like that they're called the island people. So I kept waiting for a boat to come in and a bunch of really high class Massachusetts, Boston type people to come off talking with their New England accents, but wearing tribal clothing. So it was really funny.
Island.
Yeah. All right. That's a nice car you got there. You like my tribal gear? Just really funny. They all talk like the Kennedys.
Okay.
Anyway, I passed the boating test.
Nice. Passed the boating test. That is awesome.
And then the next morning I took kids out fishing.
Nice. Legally.
And it's funny because they gave me the keys to a boat, but I had never driven a boat. It's like a 24-foot pontoon boat. Yeah. I've never driven a boat that size before. So,
but you passed the test, so you
there's
must be
nothing
okay.
on that test about how to drive a boat. Not one thing asked, how do you drive a boat? It did not come up one time. So I had to figure out how to drive this boat. And it was like driving, I used to have a 1980 Cutlass Supreme, this big tank of a car. That when you tried to turn, you turn the wheel, and then a few seconds later, the car would kind of bounce to the right or left, wherever you're turning it. And it felt like driving that. So
you don't really drive it; you just kind of, hurry.
That's right. You turn the wheel and just hope it goes where you want it to go. So really fun. It was a lot of fun, and we caught fish. So we win.
You did win. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was on Lake Ossipee, New Hampshire. Really fun.
Oh, good. And did you catch fish?
We totally caught fish right away. I was able to put people on fish. First, it was like a bunch of small perch. And then we motored around to a different spot, and I suggested, specific habitat. And we were catching perch that were pushing 1 pound. Lots of really, really big ones.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you fished that lake with me, you know the perch mostly are tiny.
Right.
And we found a big pocket of big ones. And then later in the day, we found a bunch of smallmouth bass. So we had a really good time.
Wow, that's great. By the end of the summer, you're going to have that lake down.
Maybe.
That's awesome.
Maybe.
That's awesome.
So anyway, but I think we should really talk for the next 10 minutes or so about your big adventure. You had a really exciting day out today. I called you this morning, and you were like, "I gotta go. I'm hitting the road." So why don't you jump in that story?
So I got out the maps to look at the fish that we haven't gotten yet.
Right, and just for those who aren't in the know, what Dave is talking about is we 2.5 years ago started a 1-year quest to catch and eat every kind of freshwater fish in New Hampshire, and so we still have a handful of fish left. So Dave was chasing a small handful of those fish.
Yes, and there's one spot that has 3 of them that we're looking for, and that is around the Connecticut River watershed and the Ammonoosuc River watershed. And it seems like a town called Whitefield is the epicenter for some of this stuff. There's the St. John's River that flows through there. And Fish and Game has found long-nosed suckers, which we need and eat, that we need to eat. And then they also found red-bellied dace there.
Northern red bellies, yep.
Northern red bellies, yep. And then there was one other one they had.
Fine-scale dace.
Fine-scale dace, yeah. And although the biologists say, we have a tough time figuring out what's a fine-scale dace and a northern red-bellied dace.
Do you remember the difference between the two?
No.
No, one of their intestines is like a half a centimeter longer than the other. I mean, it's that minutia, that detail, that's really the challenge here.
So pretty much, if we catch a red-bellied dace or a fine-scale dace, we're going to just call it both because it could be. Who knows?
Could be.
We'll catch 2 of those, and then that'll be that. So anyway, I head up to. And this is not an easy trip. This is a 2.5-hour trip for me from Exeter up to there. But
for those who aren't in the know of New Hampshire, Whitefield is near nothing.
It is, although it's near Bethlehem. Isn't that a town?
Yeah, Bethlehem is the highest town above sea level on the eastern seaboard, and it's
really,
and it's all. And the population is very heavily Hasidic Jews.
I was gonna say it had a vibe, and because I was driving up there and I was running out of gas, and when you run out of gas on 93, when you enter the white, you're totally screwed when you get into the White Mountain area.
We don't have gas up here, Dave.
Yeah, you don't. and so I'm watching the tank and I'm turning off the air conditioning, and I'm doing all this stuff that I can do, coasting down the hills. It's getting rough, and then so I finally see this exit to Bethlehem. Oh, great. So I turn, and that explains it. I actually did see a Hasidic Jew walking down the street, and that's kind of unusual in New Hampshire.
Not as unusual as you think. So
I know. And so they go to Bethlehem.
Well, doesn't that make sense? And they all run these really great antique shops. There's some really good coffee shops up there.
It's a really neat little town. There's a cinema there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, and Bethlehem that is maybe a mile long, the whole strip in town. You're gone. So it's not very big.
So anyway, I rolled into the Irving gas station there, which is always great because Irving has good bathrooms.
Reliably clean. Yeah.
Reliably clean bathrooms. And I filled up my tank, and I had a half a gallon left. So it was pretty close.
You made it.
But anyway, so I get up to Whitefield, and so there's like one big intersection where the bunch of roads come together, as well as the river, and a Subway sub shop there. So I go in and I get a foot-long sub, and then I save half the bread because I want to do dough balls for the long-nosed suckers.
Seems like a good idea. Yeah.
Yep. So then I just parked my car there and walked down behind the place, and I had my waders on and started working the water. And sure enough, as soon as I get there, pretty much right away, I catch a fish. I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is it.
And go,
boom,
hooray!
We're done. And it's our friend the fall fish.
That fish.
That fish owns that river, it seems.
I know exactly the spot you fish because I've been after the same fish in the same spot, and that's all I found I found other fish too, but fall fish were the predominant fish in that area. Just so many of them.
So many of those. And the water's real slow right there, but then it speeds up and has this like chute of rapids that takes on out of town. And, by the way, while I was fishing, a mink came up and almost ran across my boots. It was that close.
That's awesome.
And, he didn't care at all that I was there. I actually was thinking he was trying to point me in the right direction. I don't know.
You're like, what's that, little mink? I can just see you like just in the heat and the long drive, the delirium from not eating enough food, talking to a mink. If only I'd eaten the whole sandwich, that mink wouldn't be so distracting.
I should have tried some of those river mushrooms. Then the mink really would have talked.
Really great.
But being in hot waders on a 80-degree day, that helps too. So anyway, man, I mean, I fished hard. I fished red worms, night crawlers, all over the place. Caught nothing but fall fish. It's funky there. There's something to happen. They have the big. They're sort of like river feminine products. Those big sponge things that they put out when there's an oil spill or something.
Women, feminine products. I don't know what you mean.
They're like you've seen them. They're like these big
river tampons.
They're like river tampons. They're these big sponge things that they string across the river.
You paint a terrible picture.
Sorry. So anyway, it was an odd place to fish. And I gave up there and moved downstream a little bit. And I fished everything. There's a very sad furniture factory there. That town is sad. There's something going on.
Well, I've spent some time in that town. My cousin-in-law used to live there and work at the big Grand Hotel, which is all run by those big, huge, wind turbines. It's the coldest place in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
Whenever you're looking at like New Hampshire temperatures, like in the middle of winter, you'll see like Exeter where you live, it'll be like 40 degrees. Up in Conway where I live, it'll be 20. Whitefield, negative 85. It's just tremendously cold there. And it just wrecks people, I think.
They are. I mean, the whole town it seems like there's some big employers must have left, this big furniture factory.
There used to be all kinds of mills in that area, so.
Yeah, and everybody's just kind of hanging out. There's a lot of people no shirts on.
Well, they were hot.
Just stumbling around.
They were drunk.
But anyway, so I poked around. I did stop some guy and ask him about, I should have recorded him. I got to remember I'm a podcaster.
You're a reporter.
I am a reporter.
Featured.
He had no shirt on. He sort of looked like a shirtless, lawn gnome. He had a big long beard, white beard. He's out there with a shovel in his yard. And, I asked him if he'd seen, if there's any good streams around. He's like, what are you looking for? I'm like, well, I'm looking for Dace. He says, I haven't seen a Dace since the river was bleeding. Jeez, okay. So, but he said, down at the end of this road, there's a beaver pond.
Right.
Go look there. So I went there, and, sure enough, I think there were Dace in there. And I was poking around there. They wouldn't attack. They looked like a school of golden shiners, but, I would throw a worm out there and they would ignore the worm. So I ended up throwing the rest of my Subway sandwich out at them.
Just imagine hucking your sandwich across the pond there.
And they were pecking at the breads, and then I tried to make a dough ball and put it on the number 32 hook, and I could not get them to hook. But then I put a video camera out there to see if I can identify them, to see if they were Dace. If they are, at least we know where they live.
Right, and we know they live there anyway, even without your video, but if it makes you feel better having that.
Well, we don't know if they live in this particular spot.
That's true. Have you looked at the video yet?
I did a little bit of video looking, and I can see fish. So I once I get it on the big screen here, I'll post it on Fish Nerd stuff.
Then maybe they can tell us where they are.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, it was a big, long day of failure and running into odd people. Although I was surprised. So I was fishing all day on bridges, and nobody stopped to talk. Thought that was strange.
That is strange.
I
always
wearing? Stop and talk. I was wearing my red shirt.
Oh, you were wearing a shirt.
That's probably it.
You were overdressed. They went, "Oh, this guy's fancy. I'm not talking to him." He must
be an island.
I was going to say he must be a Kennedy. All right, you're not from around here, are you? It's a wicked red shirt you got there.
Yep, I think it was the shirt.
Had to be the shirt.
Oh, I was excited because I was going to try to get some. So we have this catch 'em all quest, and then we have a dam quest where we're trying to fish off at dams. And I was going to kill 2 fish with 1 stone by fishing off the Burns Lake dam. And Burns Lake, that was weird. They were so in the tradition of the Whitefield folks, there were a lot of people swimming off the boat ramp. Are you still there?
No, I left. I was waiting. I'm waiting for the big one.
There's really no story. But there was just lots of people swimming off the boat ramp, and there was a guy who was throwing Rottweilers in the water.
He was throwing Rottweilers?
Yes. He had 2 Rottweilers there, and I guess he was trying to teach them to swim.
He's just picking them up and throwing them.
Picking them up, walking them down the dam, past me. And these are like 100-pound dogs or 85-pound dogs, big dogs. Walking past me, chucking them in the lake, and not talking to me at all. It was very strange.
Yeah, that's great.
And once again, he didn't have a shirt on.
Well, I would expect anyone who throws Rottweilers to not be wearing a shirt. I don't care where you're from, whether you're an island person or a regular person. Just if that's how you make your living. Sure.
Chucking Rottweilers.
What do? I'm a Rottweiler tosser. Well, there's not much other industry in Whitefield. A lot of people don't know about the long history of Rottweiler tossing in Whitefield.
Yep. Well, he was a pro, that's for sure.
Been tossing Rottweiler for nigh on to 50 years.
My dad tossed Rottweilers. My granddad tossed Rottweilers. Anyway, I'm tired. So anyway, I didn't catch. I caught a lot of different.
What did you
fish.
catch?
I caught well, they call them hornpout, the bullhead, and yeah. And do we have black or brown? I can. Never remember.
We have brown.
We have
and
brown.
yellow.
So they were brown bullheads. Caught those. Caught a pesky brook trout.
Brookie.
Yeah, it was a pretty nice one, about like a foot long.
It's a big brook trout.
It was a big brook trout.
You take it.
I can't remember.
The whole day's a blur.
The whole day is a blur. I caught a largemouth bass. I caught, like I said, a bunch of fall fish, but not the ones we're looking for. So anyway, that's, it's a big story about nothing.
A whole lot of nothing. We seem to have a lot of stories about not catching fish. For a couple of fish nerds, you'd think we might actually have success once in a while.
Well, it's funny. I noticed one of the comments on our review or something said, like, these guys are like me. They don't catch any fish. And I like to hear
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
Well, the problem is that we catch plenty of fish. Just not the fish we want. So, like, not for you and I, catching a rainbow trout or a brook trout or a largemouth bass, that's just okay. But catching a northern red-bellied dace, that's freaking exciting. That's the money fish.
I know. So. And so I spent all day trying to catch them.
What a shame.
I
wish I could have come with you and caught nothing with you. But
it's always better to catch nothing with us.
Yes, share the love. Spread love.
But anyway, so I'm done.
You're done. Fried up, huh?
That. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know what'll cheer you up? How
What?
about a nice rousing round of Stump the Fish Nerds.
Stump the Fish
Stump
Nerd.
the Fish Nerds.
It'll be easy with me.
It'll be easy. And we're going to play a couple that got called in. Dave, can you read the number off while I cue these up?
Yes, sure.
So if you have a Fish Nerd question, you want to ask us something, we'll play your recording on the air, and we will do our best to answer it. And we know everything, so we'll get them right.
607-378-3474.
That's fish.
So that's right. 607-378-FISH. So we're going to play Stump the Fish Nerds. Yay. So who's our, Clay, cue the next call.
I'm cueing the caller. Here we go.
Okay.
So I have a question for you. A lot of people say that some fish taste different in the summer as it does the winter. Like would a rainbow trout taste different in the winter months through the ice or in the summer? Would a bass taste different than there? I've heard this thing, but I've never been able to remember the taste enough to see if that's true. This is Steve from Bartlett. I hope you can help us out.
All right, Steve from Bartlett.
Bartlett, New Hampshire. I was in Bartlett today.
Oh,
Yes,
nice.
I think it was in Steve's store. I don't know for sure, but I think Steve owns Andy's Bait and Tackle Shop up in Bartlett.
Oh, I would have figured Andy.
You would think that. And the funny thing is, Steve is in Alaska right now. He's not even in Bartlett. So, but I don't know that that's the same Steve. So, I cannot
could
confirm.
be different. But that's an interesting thing because I have always thought that. But so the issue is, do fish taste differently in the winter than in the summer?
Right.
And my feeling, and I've always heard that they're firmer and better in the winter. But what do you think?
Well, I didn't do any real deep research, but I've always heard the exact same thing. So what I did was I went on a popular fishing forum called My Fish Finder this morning, and I put the question out there. I asked the question, just the way Steve from Bartlett did.
Right.
And the consensus is 100% absolutely yes, they taste different. And here's the statement that someone named P-Dubs said.
P-Dubby.
He says, I believe that warm water species like just bass, bluegill, crappie, perch taste much better and have a firmer texture when caught through the ice. Caught in open water, especially as it warms up in summer, these fish take on a weedy, muddy flavor and a mushier texture, even when kept alive and alive well. So that's his, and we got about 5 other responses that said exactly the same thing. And my favorite response was someone by a guy named Earthworm from New York. He says, bullhead tastes like mud in the summer, but are excellent in early spring and winter. And he's heard of old timers who will catch a catfish in the summer in a warm water, stick it in a cage in a cold stream for a little while, and then they would eat it, thinking the cold water will firm the meat up and get the muddy flavor out of them. So, the common consensus is yes. I would love to see a double blind study on this, and to see what really happens. So the consensus is yes, and people are also saying they're less wormy in the winter than they are in the summertime. And I don't know if I buy that or not. So, but that's what they're saying.
I don't know if I buy that either. It might make sense that they don't have the weedy taste in that there's not much weeds in the winter. So there isn't a lot of plankton happening in the water. So that kind of makes sense.
Well, there's going to be a lot of variables here.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest variables is you catch a fish in July. And you put it on the bottom of the boat, and it can't take long for the sun to heat that thing up and start having it be funky. But you catch the same fish in the winter, and you throw it on the ice, and it's on ice, and it's flash frozen, in a matter of those same 5 minutes.
So there you go. So it's fresher tasting because it was not rotting. I guess that makes sense. The one exception to this, and I will defend this answer, is lake trout.
Defend it.
Well, here's the thing with lake trout. Lake trout, here's the best way to cook lake trout is to take your lake trout. I don't care if you caught it in the ice or in the summer. You chop it into cubes. You roll it in bacon. You fry it. And then you peel the bacon off, and eat the bacon, and throw the lake trout in the trash. Ba-dum-bum. Because they always taste like mud. So, That's
Yeah,
the
they're not
lake
very-
trout cooking advice. So we don't know, Steve from Botlet, if we answered your question or not. But the consensus is there is a difference, and I would bet there is some truth to it. But we haven't seen the science on that in any controlled studies done. So
Yeah, but it does make sense given how the water quality
it
changes.
makes a lot of sense. But I'm sure there's a lot of other variables that play into fish flavor besides that. You know, a trout, for example, if it was stocked yesterday from a hatchery, will taste different than a trout that's been in the wild for 2 years because of different foods. So we don't know for sure what causes that flavor difference. So you have to be, I guess, you never know.
Yeah.
You're welcome,
All
Steve
right.
Bartlett.
Yay! So there's one right
All right,
there.
we're going to skip ahead because we have to call someone for our next one.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't want to keep him. I told him to call me 8:30, so better get him on the phone.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, I'll start dialing.
You start dialing. I will give the intro. So Scott Dellebeck, one of our Facebook fans, asked the fish nerds which tide is best for catching stripers, incoming or outgoing. He heard arguments for both. What are our thoughts? And so we thought we would contact our friend Dominic Pacelli, who runs an outdoor blog, which I forgot the name of already. Southern New England Outdoor. Oh, I forgot it. Nature blog. And he will tell us because he knows everything about fish. He is a true fish nerd. We'll get him to tell his blog name properly, too. It's ringing.
I hear it ringing.
That's exciting.
Nothing's happening.
Nothing. He's given up on us.
Hi, is this Nick?
This is
Hey, Nick, this is Dave and Clay, the fish nerds. How are you?
pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, we're doing good. We're doing good. We're in the middle of the podcast. We haven't said anything too embarrassing. So, yeah, we're doing well.
That's a good start.
So we phoned a friend on this one because somebody gave us a Stump the Fish Nerd that we don't know the answer to. So, Clay, could you read the question?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Nick, how's it going?
Pretty good, Clay.
Good. All right. So this is from Scott Dellebeck. He's a Facebook fan of ours. He asked the question, which tide is better for catching stripers, incoming or outgoing? I hear arguments for both. What are your thoughts? And Nick, we decided to ask you because we know from your blog, which we'll give you a chance to talk about in a minute, that you are an avid striper fisherman. You catch tons of these things all year long. And so you'd probably be the best person to ask this question to. So you better have a good answer.
I do have a good answer, but it was almost like the answer to your question for mine last week. There's no right answer. The tide, it all depends on where you're fishing. It's almost like a chess game. If you were fishing like where a river goes into the ocean or into the bay, you would want to fish an outgoing tide. You'd want the pond that's behind there to have the current push bait into the ocean, and it makes it easy picking for the stripers. If you were fishing, say, inside of a cove, you'd aim for a spot that was like a minor point inside of the cove. That would be a good high tide spot. That's a general idea there.
Wow.
Let's see, what else would you have? Inside of a river, like just say you're fishing a bridge that was tidal, you basically just want moving water. If you have moving water at a place like that, or say a point in the ocean and you have a rip going by, it probably doesn't matter too much on which tide is better, as long as the water's not slack.
So slack is the worst.
Slack would be the worst in almost every kind of place. Yeah, you want the water to be moving up or down. I would say, if I had to say, there are more spots where a dropping tide is better than a rising tide. But I would still take a rising tide that's moving over a slack tide. And where I fish beaches, I fish rocky points, I fish inside of rivers. The worst tide I always have is a low tide just starting to rise. I don't have very many spots that I can fish that. Those are the nights I usually stay home or go largemouth bass fishing.
Right.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I wish I had a short, nice answer for you.
I
And a
think
lot
you
of
did
times
pretty
it's
good.
experimental too. Oh, thanks.
Yeah. No, that's good. You know, I mean, I grew up in Indiana, so the water's always the same.
Yeah.
So this idea of changing water, I mean, you know, I'm used to going fishing when I have the time, but yeah, this tide thing always throws in an extra factor. So it's great to hear that.
Ruins everything.
It does. The bigger the tide, the better, though. Like a new moon, you're going to have a stronger tide than, say, a last quarter moon. So you're going to have more water movement. The fishing's usually a lot better. I personally don't like fishing a full moon. I don't like the brightness. I've had a lot of nights where I didn't catch hardly anything. So you switch it around 2 weeks later and you got a new moon. Same tide, 8:30 p.m. high tide. It's way better. They like the dark nights.
Wow. So, Nick, do you have your calendar all marked off with just moon phases and tides, and you try to, cross-reference the best times to go fishing?
You want the truth? Because I start that around the middle of February, and I write them all down to the spring, yeah.
Oh, you are a true fish nerd.
Oh, I do. I have, it's awful. I have, on the calendars where you get the nice big blocks, I will have the tide, the high tide for the night, evening, because I work during the day, so it's very useless to me. The low tide that night, and then what time the sun set and what time the moon rose. And if I can fish after sunset, before the moon rises, perfect.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm definitely a fish nerd, and I look forward to doing that, sometime in mid-February. Yeah, definitely a dork.
Wow. Fish dork. You're a notch above a nerd.
Or below, depending on how you look at it.
Someday, if you're real lucky, you'll be a fish geek. So.
All right. Well, that is awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we're not going to just hang up with you now because we got you on the phone. So we'll keep you here for a few minutes. Now, Nick, do you want to talk a little bit about your blog and your writing things you do, your other fish nerdy things you're up to? So we'll give you a chance here to talk about yourself. So you have a blog. It's called Southern New England Outdoor and Nature blog. Is that right?
Southern New England Outdoors .blogspot.com, and I usually
we'll put a link up on our website for this. So.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. And I usually just write about whatever I've done that's outdoorsy because that's my life. I went up to New Hampshire last week and fished for probably 20 hours out of the 36 I was up there. And had a good time, and I wrote all about that on the blog. It was my first time going up there this year. Let's see. Before that, I wrote about 6 blog posts about Niagara Falls, kind of not a how much I love it type of thing, but useful information for anyone else who would go next.
Did you fish in Niagara?
I didn't. I was with my friend Laurie, and as much as I was so close, well, the Niagara River has fish. I actually put my hand in Lake Erie, but I did not get to put a line or a hook in Lake Erie.
It just feels wrong.
It killed me. Because I know there's carp in there. I know there's salmon and trout, and I couldn't do it. So, what are you gonna do?
Nothing, I guess.
Turn around and be sad until I get back to Niagara Falls, and then it was nice again.
Yeah, you need to pack a collapsible fishing rod in your backpack, so you always have it.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have done that. I really should have. I always have them in the car.
Yeah. Oh well. That's hopeful. And do you write for other magazines, newspapers besides your blog?
Yeah, I wrote, this year I have not written for On the Water magazine, but I've written 3 articles so far for The Fisherman, A at the end and on E magazine. And I have an article coming out about catfishing, and I have an article that I have to write that should be coming out at the end of the summer about fishing for smallmouth bass from shore.
Oh, sweet.
I love writing. I mean, besides fishing and hiking, it's my next favorite thing to do. I just enjoy doing it.
Awesome. Well, I enjoy reading your articles when you get them out there. So keep it up because it's great.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I like actually hearing feedback by that because you go fishing and you have fun doing it. And it's kind of nice to help other people out too. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And it's also really fun to boost your ego by seeing your name in print or your photo on the cover of a magazine. I know for me it's all about ego, so yeah.
I can't argue with that. I had a cover on The Fisherman, not of me, but of a picture of a trout I took, and I was so proud of that picture. And it's just a picture of a trout with a cast master in its mouth, but you're right, it does boost your ego, and I can't pretend it doesn't.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we almost never get feedback on our writing, but it doesn't matter. Just having it printed on the, out there, that's good feedback. Just like, wow, someone liked me enough to print that and spend the money on it, so it's good.
Yeah, and you get these editors, whether I know for a newspaper for you or a magazine for me, if they like it, and you respect these guys and they enjoy fishing and they like what you wrote, It makes you feel that much better.
Sure.
It does. They're not going to waste their time with anything that they don't like. I know for a fact editors can't waste their time because they're always on deadline. So if they put it out there, you know they like what you wrote. And that, you're right. Ego is part of it.
All ego. All right, Nick, cool. Listen, we'll put a link up to your blog up on our Fish Nerds page so people can check out your blog, and we encourage everyone to do it. And, Nick, is there anything else you want to say before we get off the phone with you?
Let's see. I don't think I have any questions for you this week, so I think I'm all set.
All right, thanks for your expertise. We really needed it, so it's nice to have you.
No problem. If you have any Striper questions, I can guarantee that I'll be right some of the time.
All right, that's great.
Hey, thanks a lot, Nick.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Yeah,
bye.
All right, see ya. All right, good.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
All right, and we have one more Stump the Fish Nerd question that just came in last minute.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So let me just cue this up. You ready?
Yes, I am ready.
All right, here we go. Should start.
Hi, Fish Nerds. This is Kristen from Conway, New Hampshire. Just a quick question for you guys. I'm just wondering what I should do with the fishing tackle that I find in the dryer. Is there a good place to put that? I'd love your input. Thanks.
So Kristen from Conway.
Wonder who Kristen from Conway is.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that's my wife.
Yes. So what did you leave in the washer?
There's always because when I go fishing, I rarely bring a tackle box. Like all my friends have these giant tackle boxes, and I can't imagine carrying one of those around. So I load up Ziploc bags with gear and cram them in my cargo shorts, and I go fishing. So it's like a Ziploc bag full of sinkers and hooks and that sort of thing. So the question she had, let's answer the question. All right, is what as a modern housewife, she's the one who has a job. I'm unemployed, so. As a modern woman, what do you do with your husband's gear you find in the dryer? And I have the answer.
Oh yeah, I want to hear this.
Careful notes on the kind of stuff he likes. And then when you have to go shopping for Father's Day or Christmas, you know exactly the gear he likes, and you go shopping for it.
Oh, what an insightful and empathetic
It's
suggestion.
very helpful.
Very helpful. Man, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So, thanks, Kristen, for that call, and we welcome your call anytime.
What kind of washer do you guys have? Do you have the regular kind or the front loader?
The regular kind.
Oh, see, we got a front loader, thinking that we would be, this hip, save water, new kind of thing. The bad thing is when you leave your fishing equipment in your cargo shorts, it comes out and it gets stuck in between the door and a gasket, and it just shreds the gasket.
Oh, see? Never.
It's terrible.
With a cheap washing machine, you never have that problem.
I know, you could mix concrete in one of those things and it would be
Virtually.
fine. But these new front ones, anything getting in between the gasket just tears them up.
But it's not. They're just not meant for anglers.
They are not.
No, that's it. What a shame. So I'll make sure I remember that when Kristen says to me, "Hey, do you think we got to buy a new washer and dryer?" I can say, "Well, no." And here's why. And then she'll say something to the effect of, "Well, maybe you should check your pockets before." Yeah, and I'll of course I'll agree with her because she's right.
Always.
But it won't change anything. So, because I am just that kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm like steering a train.
All right. Well, good advice. Good
Yeah,
advice.
all
Stuff
good
the fish nerds. I'm going to say we were 100% right this time.
As always, 100%.
Yep.
And
Congratulations.
And we
bud.
please, if you have questions for Stump the Fish Nerds, please call them in this week, and we will try and have a regular segment. Really enjoy doing it. It's fun. So.
All right. Fish in the news.
Fish news.
This week's fish news comes from ABC News.
Real news source.
So 400, this is the headline, 400 valuable koi fish stolen from park. pond in Virginia. So a pond in a park in Virginia, 400 stolen. But it's the way they were stolen that we appreciate.
Love this.
So 2 men posed as pond maintenance workers. They scooped up 400 valuable koi fish from the park and are now targets of their own dragnet. I don't know what that is.
I think it means someone made a mistake writing. But I just love the idea of these guys dressed up as pond maintenance guys. Like, it's so Ace Ventura. Like, it's just...
Well, it's also kind of Mission Impossible.
Yeah. Oh, I bet in their heads are going, dun, 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 dun. And they're sneaking around. I bet they had clipboards. And they're like, oh, 400 fish. And they're checking them off as they net them out into their buckets.
Well, so the story says between June 8th and June 16th, 2 men went into the park and at least 4 times scooped out fish with nets out of the pond and put them into coolers. Now, wouldn't you think people would be like, wonder why they're putting them in coolers?
I just imagine, like, the park supervisor going, I don't recall calling a pond maintenance man today. And, I don't recall asking him to clean my carp.
Yeah, we take them out, get them dry cleaned, bring them back.
Yeah, we're gonna squeegee the scales, and, we'll bring them back next week, don't you worry.
We're going to put them in a front load washer. So these koi though, they were trying to figure out the price, and they know if it's over $200 that it's a felony. Is it a felony or?
It would be a grand larceny. Yeah.
Which is a felony.
It is a felony. Yeah.
Yes. So you could show up in jail for this. And the fish range from $130 to $10. They thought. So, 400 fish even at $10.
Yeah,
it's expensive.
Those are some nice fish.
4,000. Yeah.
I just who knew there was a black market for koi? And I'm thinking about like drug dealers and stuff. Like, I'm just trying to imagine koi dealers. Like, you got some, but like, I'm like, what kind of neighborhood do koi dealers live in?
I don't know.
So, they're like other koi houses, you know.
I could see these guys show up, with the fishing waders on. I think you got, because I'm looking. I got.
I mean, they're like trying to casually pass a cooler from one guy to the next.
Or just a carp.
Yeah, just a carp. Yeah. Here, put this in your shirt. All right. And you got the carp looking around. You got the carp police running around after them. The
people trying to flush them down the toilet when the cops.
Yeah, they all these little DEA type suits on. All these guys, just big carp stings. So, good fun. Fish Nerd Nation.
Fish Nerd Nation this week. So, this week in Fish Nerd, so for those that don't know, Fish Nerd Nation is all the videos that we post from around the world that we find on YouTube. We post the best 30 seconds on fishnerds.com and put them all in a category called Fish Nerd Nation, because they're all fish nerds out there. So, the one that we really liked was these 2 guys from Britain fishing for yellow perch.
These guys are just so great, because they might have picked the coldest night of the year to go out perch fishing, and they had such a tremendous. They're so excited about it, and like for me, and I don't know, for most of the world, catching perch is like it doesn't get any easier than that. Just perch fishing. But these guys are serious perch anglers. So.
Well, the neatest thing is we posted their recipe for the chum that they use.
Who chums for perch?
These guys do, with an amazing array of materials. So they're chopping up worms and they're chopping up shrimp.
Well, they have compost, they have worms, they have chopped shrimp, they have brine extract, they have ground red maggots, live red maggots, and all kinds of other worm castings and stuff, and they mix them all together by hand, like their bare hands.
And then they chuck this stuff out, both throwing it with their hands, and then they have these little chum ball launcher things that they can cast out and chum out in the middle of the pond.
It's so cool.
And so it's like this, it's like NASA going fishing. And they have all this equipment, all this stuff. And I must say, they did catch some pretty impressive perch.
Yeah, pushing 3 pounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a
Big perch. And they would, for bait, so once they got their chum out there, then they would take a whole, like, store-bought frozen shrimp, thawed out. Looked like they were cooked already. They would dip them in krill extract. And then put them on a little octopus hook. And they would toss it out on carp rods. And they had little carp alarms and everything on them. And they would wait for these fish. And they're massive. So they knew it. And they kept saying, Kraken! It was a Kraken fight. It was just really great. You have to watch the video. Watch the whole 10 minutes. It's so good.
Yeah, very good. So that's probably the best one this week on Fish Nerd Nation. There were some other ones there where some kid is getting eaten by fish. That's fine.
Yeah.
And, other typical Fish Nerd stuff. So
really good stuff. But the bigger news though for the Fish Nerd Nation is what happened with us on iTunes this week.
That's right. So, being good iTunes people, we were checking out to make sure that the post went up, that our latest podcast went up. And I was looking to see in our category, which is sports, I went to the sports genre.
Because Dave and I are finely tuned athletic machines.
That's right. When you look at us, you think,
man, those guys really work out.
This body just doesn't happen. Thank you very much. So anyway, under sports, there is a new and noteworthy section, and right next to John Sally, the basketball player, his new blog is the Fish Nerds, or at least was the Fish Nerds.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks to the algorithms that are iTunes that selected which ones, and I think we have to thank our fans for writing so many reviews.
We definitely need to thank our fans for writing reviews, and keep doing it.
Yes, because then that will get us above John Sapp.
Yeah, screw him. Yeah.
Anyway, so that was really nice. New and noteworthy on iTunes is Fish.
Yeah, and so while you're thinking about iTunes, if you haven't already done it, go to iTunes, subscribe to our podcast, give us a 5-star rating. That's the right answer. Okay? That's the right answer. And make a few comments. Let me read you a couple that we've gotten this week. Here's one we got from a guy named Koi-Fish15.
No, he's the black market.
He is.
Guy.
He gave us 5 stars, which is, of course, what we asked. He writes, great podcast, guys. I'm from Texas and have no idea what y'all are talking about half the time, but I've enjoyed listening. I guess us fish nerds are the same no matter what we're catching. Keep it up. So, nice.
That is nice. And he's right. Fish Nerds, that's one of the things that amazes me is Fish Nerds crosses all cultural boundaries, all age, all this stuff. If you're a fish nerd, you'll like Fish Nerds.
Yes. Here's another one. Great podcast. This is from Cape Cod Canal Eddie. And he wrote, this is a very funny couple of good guys who like to fish and have some fun on the water. This podcast is wonderful. And because he heard the Wonder Boner, it's wonderful. And I was wondering, if I pray hard enough, do I really have to wait 5 hours before using my Wonder Boner? So, great review there. And please keep them coming. We love it. It makes us feel good. We don't get paid to do this.
No, we don't.
We're giving you an hour or better of reasonably good entertainment. The least you could do is log on to iTunes and hit a comment and give us some positive review. Make us feel good about it. Don't make us come after you for money.
That's not
no.
But also speaking about giving it away, we are now getting ready to appear regularly on WMWV 93.5.
Yeah, that's not Washington Valley Radio. So.
Yeah, do they have a slogan like the voice of the mountains?
93.5 is music without boundaries.
See, we're part of the not boundaries.
We are not part of their boundaries. So,
yes.
It's actually a great station. They play a huge variety of music on it. And they have asked us to put together little 1-minute, Fish Nerd segments for them. to play in heavy rotation all summer and next winter. So, Fish Nerds will be on the radio.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Watch out, Rush. We're coming.
We're
for you.
coming 1 minute at a time. So that's really
Very
exciting.
good.
Yeah, and it's being sponsored by Andy's Bait and Tackle up in Bartlett, New Hampshire.
Bartlett, New
That's
Hampshire.
probably Steve from Bartlett. So we thank you, Steve, for that. Although we're not getting any money. But hey, speaking of sponsorship, we are looking for sponsorship. We would like your money. So if you have something you need to promote and you want to promote it on our radio show, on our podcast, or on our website, and you want to advertise with us, just contact us at advertising@fishnerds.com, and we will send you a rate sheet and give you a good deal. And if you're our first person, we'll get the best deal because we're desperate. So, not to come off too desperate or anything.
No. Somehow I just got a flash of you dating in high school.
Oh, I was the worst. I was like,
really,
can you just pretend
great.
to be my girlfriend? How about that? No, you won't do that. No, okay. Guess I'll. All right. I was wondering if maybe you want to go to the dance. No. Okay. No.
Okay.
No. You want to go to the prom? No. You're going Dutch. You got a friend you're going with? Yeah. Oh, you like me? I'm a great guy. I'm funny, and someday I'll make a girl really, really happy. Yeah. Okay. I was such a sad kid.
But you could juggle.
But I could juggle. And you would think that would just bring the ladies in.
But
no. So sad. No parties for me.
All right. So that concludes our Fish Nerds podcast.
Yeah, we got through it. Despite your exhaustion.
I know. I'm delirious now. After this, I'm gonna fall down. But I have that worm smell too, so I've got to take a shower.
Yeah, but your wife's away. You don't need a shower. You just go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead, smelling bad. Go to bed smelling bad. So. All right.
So this is Fish Nerds. We still don't have an ending.
No, but we do want to remind you, if you haven't already liked our Fish Nerds page on Facebook or subscribed to our podcast, please do so, and we really appreciate it. So do those things. And that will be our ending.
All right. So until next time, this is the Fish Nerds. We're out.
See you later.